Support WrestleTalk!
2021 is dead, long live 2022 and all the news that will sail in you. After one of the legit most significant years in wrestling history, possibly its most significant since 2001, it's hard to imagine how 2022 might top it. Maybe Triple H will start his own promotion called Too Sweet Wrestling. Maybe Steve Austin to AEW confirmed. Maybe Vince finally gets his hands on all three of Cleopatra's eggs and can finally retire. Who can say? Well, hopefully us. In this list, looking at some of the wilder predictions about the coming year currently doing the rounds. I'm Adam from WrestleTalk, and here are the 10 biggest rumors of 2022. And you know what? I heard a rumor that you subscribe to WrestleTalk. Hopefully that works like it did in the Umbrella Academy. Just click the button, click it, please. Number 1, WWE job security and contract expirations. Not really a rumor when it's so likely to happen. God, 2021's been depressing in this regard, as WWE has released over 80 wrestlers on top of the 50 plus from last year, and there's not much to suggest this trend won't continue in 2022. After all, Vince likes firing people. Aside from the massively depleting size of the WWE roster, as well as continually repetitive week-to-week telly, there's pretty much no reason why Vince McMahon and Nick Khan won't randomly decide to cut another 50 people on any given day, and 2021 proved more than ever that it doesn't truly matter who you are, or how much talent you have, or how much you could potentially be the next main event star. If WWE gets the hump, you're gone. How'd you screw up Keith Lee? I changed the channel, Adam. But it's not just releases that will almost certainly continue in 2022, but the trend of contracts expiring will probably continue as well, as we've seen the results of Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson's contracts expiring and what they've done with that, as well as contract negotiations with that extra pressure of the expiring contract influencing the talks as well. With all that combined, there's almost certainly going to be a lot of chatter surrounding contracts and releases next year. Number 2, NXT 3.0. Oh no, NXT underwent its colourful rebrand in September this year, and it's been, hasn't it? With a lot more main roster influence, poker showdowns and the like, a lot of the heart and soul of NXT has been stripped from it, leaving a shell of a product behind. And with viewership steadily declining as more and more people tune out, it's reportedly been a bit of a disappointment backstage in WWE. Even just a few weeks after launch, it was supposedly being looked at critically. And with WWE's track record of just redoing something that doesn't work, it's really not that unlikely that NXT could undergo yet another rebrand as NXT 3.0 in order to try and find some sort of footing and stick with it. I don't know if it's possible, but it might have, somehow, even more colours, including ones that science hasn't discovered yet. Regardless of whether it's a full-on do-over of NXT or just a more nuanced change over time, it seems 2.0 will have to change if WWE want it to bring back its fans, as more and more people seem to be turning away from it, and you can expect that change to take place in 2022 sometime. Number 3, Wyndham Rotunda. One of the most shocking releases of 2021 was Bray Wyatt, who was let go on July 31st. After his 90-day non-compete expired, speculation was rife that Wyatt, real name Wyndham Rotunda, will be making an appearance in a wrestling company very, very soon. Reports circulated that both AEW and Impact were very interested in Rotunda. Then came November and December, and winter is coming, and there's still no sign of Rotunda yet. Pictures have shown Rotunda working in Hollywood on movies, so whether he'll continue his movie-making ways or actually return to wrestling remains to be seen, but the betting individual might think he'd return to the ring before long. As a third-generation wrestler, it's clear that wrestling is part of the family, though it's also very possible that his love of wrestling may have been worn down from continued pushback against his creativity and ideas in WWE, as has been reported. Who knows what the future holds for Rotunda, but perhaps we'll see him make his undoubtedly well-received return to wrestling in 2022. Number 4, AEW's bubble might burst. All Elite Wrestling's had a very, very good couple of years and an even better couple of months recently, pulling in viewing audiences far higher than their network were anticipating, selling out arenas, making a profit in their first year, which is actually kind of insane when you think about it, not to mention putting on some of the best wrestling shows in those 2 years as well. And also there's like captivating storylines, over characters, building new stars, hook. But there's a chance I wouldn't like to think too much about, that AEW's success is partially driven off the positive goodwill of the fans, and their mistakes are often forgiven because of this goodwill. At some point, surely that bubble has to burst. Fans are already growing impatient with certain things not improving in the company, like their women's division is moving in the right direction, but slowly, and with misfires such as the ending to Revolution and Blood and Guts, as well as divisive booking choices like the 60-minute time limit draw between Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson, which I personally love, but a lot of people thought was just repeating something they did earlier in that year at Grand Slam. Perhaps the cracks will start to show. Will this result in a downward trend at some point, or will they continue to grow? You'd think there has to be a ceiling at some point, but maybe there isn't. I hope there isn't, and it'll be a great product for years to come. But maybe 2022 might be the first misfire year in AEW's history. Number 5, the wrestling war on console. 2021 saw a definite decrease in the intensity of the war between WWE and AEW, with NXT moving to Tuesday nights, putting an end to the Wednesday night war, meaning there was no direct head-to-head competition on weekly TV. Granted, there was the occasional jab here and there, the odd mention in a promo in the Rogue Super SmackDown at Madison Square Garden versus Rampage's buy-in on YouTube, but aside from those flurries, there's been a distinct lack of war in the last year. But fear not, Tribalist fans, for the solution is on the horizon, and no, it's not moving Rampage into an earlier time slot to compete with SmackDown, it's video games! The war continues on console. It was revealed a couple of months back that WWE 2K22 has been delayed until March 2022. But don't worry, they keep telling us it hits different. Meanwhile, AEW's been quietly working on their own video game, and while an official release date is yet to be announced as of the time of writing, it will most likely be in 2022 as well, and more likely than not in the first half of the year too. And not only will these be competing wrestling video games, but they will also have their own war raging behind the scenes, as at the helm of the AEW game is Yuke's, the former developer who worked on old WWE games before the helm passed from THQ to 2K. After the disaster that was 2K20, Yuke's left the WWE project and are now working on their rival's game. The war lives on, Tribalists. Rejoice. Or don't. Calm down. Number 6, Paige returns to wrestling. Poor Paige. After being forced to retire in 2018 due to injury, she found herself doing outside projects such as Twitch, though has remained loyal to WWE, providing insight on WWE backstage, occasionally appearing on pre-show panels and guest commentary and the like. However, with the returns of Daniel Bryan and Edge to wrestling after supposed career-ending injuries, questions started to be thrown Paige's direction, wondering whether she could join them and return to the ring once more. Paige has been stoking this fire herself on social media, responding to a picture of Edge and Bryan Danielson saying one day, and this trend continued on her Twitch channel where she said things like, "I'm not done yet, this is going to be my comeback story, and this is my house," or maybe not that last one, but she has probably said that on Twitch at some point. But she has pretty overtly begun talking about the people who have returned to wrestling and inspired her to start thinking about the long process to become cleared once more. Her WWE contract is supposedly up in June 2022, so whether she returns in WWE or in another company that could see the benefit of more star power in their women's division, we shall have to wait and see. Number 7, AEW's women's division will continue to rise. Hey look, a women's division that could benefit from a bit more star power. That's where I was going with that. AEW's women's division has been well chronicled as the weakest part of the company, and not because of the lack of talent, but more from the reluctance from the higher-ups to invest a bit more time into that division. Well, with the TBS tournament, that seems to be changing, and that has led to a flourishing of certain characters in certain parts of the division, like Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, the Lights Out match that those two had, Ruby Soho, and while it hasn't been a home run every single week by any stretch of the imagination, it's been very small, and in some cases, medium steps towards making the division a bigger deal in the company, but those steps could do with becoming larger strides, as it has been over 2 years now that AEW has presented the women as generally lesser than a lot of men's feuds, with a couple of exceptions, and with more talent becoming available from WWE releases, Ring of Honor's hiatus, and more stars from the indies, it seems AEW might be on the verge of making their women's division something truly special, especially with another Baker versus Rosa match on the horizon too. Number 8, 205 Live and NXT UK will be shut down. This is less exciting. To clarify, I would never ask for someone to lose their job. I'm not calling for this to happen. But through all of the releases that have happened in 2020 and 2021, how has NXT UK and 205 Live not been targeted more? More importantly, how has 205 Live remained an actual weekly show that wrestlers compete on? With Raw, SmackDown, NXT 2.0, Main Event, 205 Live and NXT UK, it feels like WWE might pump the brakes on at least one of these shows in 2022, especially as 2021 saw a huge consolidation of WWE's assets, including various corporate departments being shut down entirely, such as WWE Japan. The natural extension of this would be to surely shut down the UK division as a whole. And 205 Live is just Main Event at this point. It's not even just cruiserweights that compete on the show, and it's not even just cruiserweights that compete for the cruiserweight title these days anyway either. So Odyssey Jones, future cruiserweight champion, is an actual possibility. With the budget cuts and amalgamations of various departments and divisions, it seems more than likely we'll be at least saying goodbye to the Purple Show before the end of 2022, but then again, that might just become 205 2.0. Who even knows at this point? Number 9, AEW in the UK. AEW have been making waves in North America since their debut in 2019, packing out arenas all over the USA, but primarily due to, the thing. They haven't been able to expand their reach in live shows abroad. Tony Khan himself revealed last year that Fyter Fest 2020 was originally penciled to take place in England before, the thing. And despite the situation being a bit, let's call it volatile, Merry Christmas, it seems more than likely that in 2022, AEW might try to get back on their touring schedule that they wanted to have in the first place. This isn't particularly earth-shattering rumor or speculation. It seems more than likely we'll see a UK AEW show before 2022 is out. Ollie, buy us tickets. Yeah? And number 10, Triple H will leave WWE. Hear me out. This is a bit of a wild one. It's based on a whole bunch of speculation and drawing conclusions that probably aren't real, but let's fantasize for a little bit, shall we? With the hiring of Nick Khan, there's been a definitive cock-blocking of Triple H's corporate powers backstage, with reports emerging of a bit of a power dynamic and power shift happening in WWE. Vince McMahon, Nick Khan, Kevin Dunn, and Bruce Pritchard on one side, with Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and the NXT crew on the other. Just a few years ago, everyone assumed that when Vince McMahon stopped running the company, Triple H would be the one to take over, but it's seeming more and more likely it'll actually be Nick Khan, who's proven to be just as ruthless a businessman as any that have come before him, reportedly being the one who is at the helm of all the releases in the last 2 years. With Triple H's project, the Black and Gold NXT, coming up short against AEW, it's been speculated that the rebrand into NXT 2.0 was a punishment of sort for Trips, with Vince taking away his nice thing because he didn't beat AEW. And after Hunter's unfortunate cardiac event that had him hospitalized a couple of months ago, it's not that far-fetched to think that his backstage influence is dwindling. Some more extreme theories had Triple H leaving WWE to buy Ring of Honor, and while that probably won't happen, what if he did leave? What if he's had enough and leaves, starts his own promotion, and changes the entire landscape of the wrestling industry? It's also important to remember that through this, his wife is Stephanie McMahon. He'll probably just stay in WWE and be happy with the role he's given. But thinking about it, it is fun, isn't it? And that's our list. What do you think is the most likely thing to happen in 2022? Or what do you think is the most unlikely thing, but you want to happen in 2022? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to WrestleTalk for more up-to-the-minute breaking news throughout 2022 as and when it happens. Happy New Year, everyone, and jam that jam.